Over the past few days, we finally got to witness some of the biggest names in track and field making their season debuts. We saw previous world champions, we saw world record holders, we even saw Olympic champions hitting the track. We saw so many great names that were competing this weekend that you probably heard of at least a few of these moments. But the story that continues to surprise me is probably not what you'd expect. It's what's happening from a few key teenage athletes, because despite being significantly younger than anyone else competing in their races, they are looking practically unbeatable right now. First, we need to head over to New York City at the Milrose Games, one of the highest profile indoor track meets of the year. Every season, this event brings out so many of the world's best that it's hard to argue that this is not one of the top 3 indoor meets of every season. But even in one of the most high-profile races of 2026, in fact, it was the highest-profile race of this entire competition, a teenager managed to take the win. This is Meyers from Australia, and as of the upload of this video, Meyers is only 19 years old. In this year's Wanamaker Mile, which was the very last event of this entire meet, Meyers took a convincing win in 3 minutes, 47.57 seconds, taking down Yard Nagus by 0.74 seconds and winning his first ever Wanamaker title. Now, for this field, Meyers is far and away the youngest person on the day. In fact, the next closest athlete in age is Hobbs Kessler at 22. On paper, this should almost certainly take away winning as a possibility for Meyers. I mean, historically speaking, teenagers just don't win big events like this. But the amazing part for Meyers is that he did win this race, and it's also following another huge win that happened about 1 week ago. Because at this year's New Balance Indoor Grand Prix, Meyers also won a huge International 3000, dropping a time of 7 minutes and 27 seconds. This is straight crazy. I have followed Meyers' career for the past few seasons, and he has been remarkably good for a teenager. But this really does take it to the next level. In the history of indoor running, only 20 athletes have ever broken 350 for the mile, but the number of athletes that have gone sub 350 for the mile and sub 730 for the indoor 3000 is much lower, as only 3 people have ever done this in history, and these 3 people are Meyers, Yard Nagus, and George Mills. And for Meyers, he accomplished these 2 thresholds in about 1 week's time. Clearly, at 19, Meyers is making a name for himself as one of the best teenage runners in history. But if we go down to an even younger age bracket, we see something even more groundbreaking. At 17, Cooper Lutkenhaus is quickly making a name for himself as the future of track and field. Not only has he gone undefeated this year so far while competing against the pros, but he's gone on to break the American junior record in the 800 and the world junior record in the 600 meters. At the Dr. Sander Invite in New York, Lutkenhaus threw down a time of 1:45.23, which for a high schooler is practically mythical kind of numbers. But it really was his recent 600-meter performance that left the entire world speechless. In this year's Milrose Games, Lutkenhaus dropped a time of 1 minute 14.15 seconds, taking the win over a very strong field, and unbelievably, this now makes him the 5th fastest athlete in the history of the indoor 600, which for an athlete at just 17 is technically the highest ranked in any event in history. And while the indoor 600 is not run as much as the 800 or the indoor mile, it's still pretty remarkable to see. Watching Cooper run is incredibly intriguing. He has so much power built up behind each and every stride that it only makes sense that he's so fast. But what really separates Cooper, even from the professionals, is really his endurance capabilities. Here are the 200-meter splits from the 2026 Milrose 600. Now, through 400, Cooper was back in 3rd place, as he split a time of 48.54 through the 400, while Genoa MacGyver crossed in 1st at 47.89, and Isaiah Jewett was in 2nd at 48.47. Now, this final 200 was crucial, and ultimately Cooper ran his final 200 more than a second faster than anyone else, as his final 200 was 25.61, with Genoa MacGyver running a 26.89 and Isaiah Jewett running a 27.01 for 3rd. Cooper's raw speed and massive engine allows him to do things that most other athletes, again even professionals, just can't. And while he too has laid the foundation, the teenagers are starting to take over the sport. One extra individual has done it even better. If we go down from 17 to the 16-year-old age bracket, we see Sam Ruth. And by now, you are probably familiar with this New Zealand teenager. At 16, he has done some of the craziest things that I have ever seen from an athlete at his age. From December 2025 to now, Sam has run a 1:45 for the 800, he's achieved a 3:53 outdoor mile, he ran a 13:40 outdoor 5,000 and a 3:38 solo effort 1,500 that he did while looking smooth and in control. And while all of these times are super fast for a 16-year-old, his most recent performance outranks anything that he has ever done by quite the distance. At the 2026 John Thomas Terrier Classic, Ruth jumped into the elite field for the men's mile, and keep in mind that this was his first ever indoor race. But despite his lack of indoor racing experience, and despite never quite racing in a field like this, Ruth dropped a 3:48.88 mile, taking down the age group world record by almost 5 seconds. This mile has sent shockwaves through the entire running world, but there's actually much more to this kind of time than many realize. Remember Alan Webb when he broke the high school mile record with his insane 3:53 mile? Well, obviously, Sam Ruth ran faster than that. In fact, he ran almost 5 seconds faster than Alan Webb's high school record. For Ruth, who's currently only a sophomore in high school, he's already taken down anything that any prep runner has ever done in the United States. But if we go back to that Prefontaine Classic, where Alan Webb ran his 3:53, we can see that the winner was in fact the legend Hicham El Guerrouj. And if we compare the times, Sam Ruth ran faster than El Guerrouj, and Sam Ruth ran his mile indoors. If this doesn't meet the requirements for the words ridiculous, insane, legendary, then I don't know what does. Sam Ruth has really made a name for himself as the future of middle distance running, and given his 13:40 5,000 an amazing engine, he probably could break records in any event from the 800 up to the 5,000 or maybe even the 10,000. Right now, teenagers are taking over the sport of track and field, and they're going undefeated against the pros in a year where some of the best athletes are really starting to make a name for themselves. And with this younger age group contingent in mind, I would love to hear from all of you. What do you think about these past few months? What do you think about these teenage talents? And where do you think they go from here? Are they set to break world records? Are they set to win the World Championships or the Olympics over the next few cycles? Leave your thoughts down below, because it really is a crazy time in running. Thanks for watching, everyone. Until next time.